We had intended to do 5 before lunch, but I think everybody's been working very hard, so we might just do 4 before lunch and we'll do the others afterwards. And that way we'll stay on time. So there you go. When you're ready, so Ciaran.
Hi, so my name is Ciaran. I've done my poster on a theory by Goffman, and it's about expedition type programs that we have in our country, I suppose, and also everywhere that they sort of run. So for the start, he came up with this concept of the total institution, and it basically is like boundaries that we put in place or that are prevalent from the environment that create this maybe learning environment, if we could call it that, for people. And so the aim of this poster is maybe to try and like throw a question out there for everyone, and it's like, how does this apply in what we do? And have you thought about these things? So the main things that make up this boundary that I found out was that if we spend extended time in a place, it's difficult to separate ourselves from the group that are involved. We have a remote aspect to it, and we're separated from our normal lives. Yeah? And that's what sort of creates this total institution. So now we're confined to interact with the people that we're involved with this group, and it maybe changes the way that we interact with them. And we wouldn't have done it the same way, and we would maybe change our actions if some of these points, these boundaries, weren't so firm. Okay? So what we can say now for the Spirit of Oysterhaven, it's a sailing vessel. You probably maybe know about it, going around the coast and around the whole country pretty much. And when students go onto this boat, it's like they are faced with these boundaries. But what are the things that maybe influence these boundaries as well? So if a student was able to bring their mobile phone onto the boat, now they're going into their phone and they're on Facebook or something like this, they're not really interacting with the rest of their group on the boat. So if you were to say, and that's maybe an ethical thing as well, but if you go offshore onto a boat, maybe there's no phone reception anymore. You don't get Wi-Fi. So you can't do that. Now they're forced to have to interact with the people on the boat. If someone's annoying them, they can't just say, oh, forget about it, and they're on their phone just ignoring them for the next while. They're going to have to deal with those sorts of conflicts that come up. And maybe it creates a learning process for these people that they have to get on, and they build a sense of community maybe as well from that. One thing that I found as well, that it can happen in Gashkas, and where the Gashka came from was probably again from Cartan and Outward Bound when it first formed. And the reason for that was, or a quote that I can't remember exactly who had said it now, but they said that, why in times of war do people reach these great heights, or can they reach such great heights? And it just makes you wonder, like, once they're confined and they have these boundaries in place, they are forced to do nothing but deal with the situation they have and progress through with it. So but then we come to maybe, if we try to implement this into our expedition programs, as long as we're aware of these aspects, and we can say, are we really creating this total institution concept on a huge level here with these guys? If it was, say, like the Finland trip that Tomas does, and you go out into the wilderness and you're taken away, maybe there's like a social media policy that you're not allowed to use your phones at certain times and stuff like this to force the people to interact. But then again, maybe it's a bit of an ethical question that you can say, how much can we do that? Because do we take the agency away from people, like in just the last poster, and we've now put our controls onto them to create this environment that makes them interact more. So it's one to provoke thought more than anything else, and that's what I have to say about that.
Excellent, thank you very much. Will we have any questions for Ciaran?
Can I ask a question?
Do.
So if we were to say that this is on expedition type programs, if you were to say that a lot of people work in activity centres, if you were to do a high rope session, does it fall into the same bracket? Because you now have the extended time factor, can be gone. That's out of there. So that boundary is weakened. But if we were to say that these people still are in a remote aspect of their lives, they don't normally do that, it can be in places that they're used to urban environments, and now they're in the middle of the country, and they're separated from their normal lives. They're not just like socialising in the shopping mall or something like that, and they have difficulty to separate from a group because they're put into these groups and they're said, here, you have to be late for this person now, and there you go. So I think sometimes it's like, it is there in a diluted form, but it's understanding where those things come into play. If that makes sense. I don't know, maybe do you
If
think
I could
the same
respond to that one, just in terms of Generation Z, who are used to instant information. I had a student recently who emailed me at 5:30 on a Friday afternoon, which was very optimistic of him, and then twice over the weekend to know had I got the email and how come I hadn't responded. But you know, where people are used to information coming back very, very quickly, then even a short period of detachment from that, say for instance at a high ropes course, can feel like a very long period. So in the context of a postmodernist era, maybe that becomes the time frame. The other thing I'd say is, in terms of your very good point about agency, if you impose a technology policy, as I would have done with my students on expeditions, but I think the agency comes in invoking the students in the defining of that policy, so that they feel it's their policy, not a policy that's imposed upon them.
Yeah.
I have a quick question, maybe, Ciaran. So Goffman looked at micro-sociology for total institutions, and he said everything was an act, and individuals are off stage, and then they go out and perform. Perhaps a bit like me now and you
In the
2
room.
minutes ago. Yeah. So I'm just wondering where you see that on stage, off stage would take place if say you're on expedition and someone like Tomas in Finland has complete control over the group, or on the Spirit of Icehaven. Where does that allow for on stage, off stage kind of total institution?
So maybe if you had the extended time and you got to know the people that you were around a little bit more, then you would start to become